Fathom 5 National Marine Park covers an area of 114 square kilometers, includes 14 islands, although that number may have changed with the high water levels, and a land base near Dunks Point. It is Canada's first marine park, being established in 1972, as Brian said, as Fathom 5 Provincial Park. It was at that time designated as a recreational park because of the notoriety of its many shipwrecks, the light stations, and of course this excellent scenery. Flowerpot at that time was actually part of Georgian Bay Islands National Park. In 1987, it became Canada's first, as we all know, national marine park, Fathom 5 National Marine Park, designated to represent the Georgian Bay Marine Region. Now, we know it's not marine, right? It's freshwater, but that's okay. Now, embarking upon its second management plan, now, at this time, the Source of Knowledge Forum has selected this topic for 2019 in order to examine whether Canada's first marine park, I think I'm touching some buttons here. The transition from the area being managed solely as a recreational park, as it was until 1987, to its federal mandate of representing a significant marine region as a socio-ecological system, I'll thank Scott Parker for that word, those words, is a primary challenge of current management planning. Remember, designated as recreational, but we're managing it in an ecological, social respect. Especially given that the protected area that we now have includes only 0.002% of the Lake Huron Georgian Bay system. Additional management challenges relate to system-wide stresses, including but not limited to climate change, invasive species introductions, shoreline development, expanding tourism, as we're all aware, commercial fisheries, etc. Now let's see if I can do this and chew gum at the same time. Interest in whether national parks in Canada are meeting international standards has increased of late as a result of the federal government recently announcing new protected areas. Overall, Canada has committed to fulfill the IUCN, the International Union Conservation of Nature, biodiversity target number 11, to protect 17% of its terrestrial lands and freshwater, and 10% of marine areas throughout Canada. Fisheries and Oceans Canada, 17% and 10. Fisheries and Oceans Canada includes only marine areas, whereas Fathom 5, National Marine Park, and Lake Superior, National Marine Conservation Areas, are freshwater, counting as part of the 17% terrestrial and freshwater target. As of late 2017, 1.05 million square kilometers, or 10.5% of this area, has been protected, including all levels of jurisdiction, and that's what that slide did show briefly. So that map, when it finally comes up, is actually all the protected areas in Canada. This is from the Canadian Council on Ecological Areas. So it shows freshwater, terrestrial, and marine, and it's pretty impressive actually when you see it. And if you go on to their webpage, they'll actually give you a KML on Google Earth that shows closely up each of the types of protected areas and the jurisdictions. It's pretty impressive. Okay. Now that you've seen that one, we're going to move to slide 3. Thank you. Which is the marine part. Fisheries and Oceans Canada recently announced that half of the 10% target has been reached. You can't see them all on there. There's some small triangles, which I'm not even going to try to point out, that are targets, areas of interest that they're still looking at, not yet defined. I'll also point out I had a little bit of involvement in the Scotian Gully and in the Lake Superior National Marine Conservation Area too. Another life. Fathom 5 National Marine Park is classified as a National Marine Conservation Area, NMCA, with the water column and lake bed portions designated under the NMCA Act, National Marine Conservation Act. The NMCA area is not currently designated, so the column and the bed is not currently designated, i.e. gazetted under the Government of Canada, due to the existing land and water claim. However, it is managed by Parks Canada, and I'm told, I don't work there, in the spirit of the MCA Act. You can ask Sean tomorrow. Sean, where are you? There you are. Yeah, talk to Sean. However, it's managed in the spirit. The islands, on the other hand, are I'm not used to reading. I just like live this stuff. The islands, on the other hand, are designated and protected under the Parks Canada Act, and are scheduled under, wait for it, Georgian Bay Islands National Park. Management direction under the NMCA Act is as follows. This is a quote from the Act. Marine conservation areas shall be managed and used in a sustainable manner that meets the needs of present and future generations without compromising the structure and function of the ecosystem, including the submerged lands and water column with which they are associated. The National Parks Act goes a little bit further and talks about ecological integrity, and if you want to know the difference, talk to Scott. And never ask a biologist what ecological integrity means, unless you got your bed and dinner and everything waiting. So based on that definition, on that management direction, Parker and Harper, yes, the Parker and Harper you all know, in January 2010 defined goals for monitoring in the national park as being to maintain, this is a quote, maintain ecosystem structure and function, while at the same time enriching the human experience in a sustainable manner. Associated objectives with those goals, not all but some, include maintaining ecosystem functions within the range of natural variability, that's quite a task, and creating and supporting a vibrant set of traditional, ecological, and cultural activities, including aesthetic recreation, cultural, and ecological services. Future management planning must account for stresses, the known knowns, which we find out through ongoing monitoring, the known unknowns, which we have to think about and presume. However, in deference and defiance of Donald Rumsfeld, I'll pass on the unknown unknowns. These must be addressed through resourcing levels, i.e. capital, staff, operations, and planning, i.e. policies and actions. Policies and actions could be wide-ranging, from maintaining the status quo, assigning different levels of protection within the existing boundaries, i.e. zoning, boundary expansion based on perhaps ecological, topographical, and or geological functions and values, or defining a greater park ecosystem area of influence, and they've done that already for Bruce Peninsula National Park. Gill et al. In 2017, the et al. Is interesting. I counted, there's 23 authors in Gill et al. I don't know what 22 of them did. Adopted 10 evaluative criteria from Oceans and Fisheries Canada, Fisheries and Oceans Canada, the Convention on Biological Diversity, and the IUC and the International Union of Conservation of Nature, World Commission on Protected Areas, reviewing 433 marine protected areas globally, and they found, amongst other things, that very few used the results of scientific monitoring to inform management decisions. Secondly, 65% reported a budget inadequate for basic management needs. And thirdly, 91% stated staff capacity was inadequate. Overall, the authors found that fish biomass was 1.6 times higher in the more protected MPAs, marine protected areas. Biomass was 2.9 times greater in marine protected areas that reported adequate staffing. And no-take MPAs, no-take fish, had higher fish responses. Now that sounds pretty obvious to me, but that was an important finding. If you don't take the fish, they're there. In summary, they noted that adequate staff capacity was the most important factor, followed by budget capacity and adequate enforcement. Okay, I'm going to tempt fate here. How does Fathom 5 compare to the evaluative criteria above? One of the most recent Parks Canada publications is the Fathom 5 National Marine Park State of the Park Report. This is from that. And I think Sean will probably talk about that a little bit more on Sunday. If not, ask him. The vast majority of the ecological indicators are listed as not rated. That's the outer ring. And it's the gray. And this is rating individual aspects and functions and values of the park. So most are not rated yet, as sufficient monitoring data has not been collected. The key issues section of the report notes that there was no startup funding provided when Fathom 5 was first converted or established as a national park. And another finding, despite a 1994 report evaluating park boundary expansion options using ecological, topographic, and geological criteria, the marine park remains the same size as the original provincial park, then established to protect shipwrecks, diving, and, of course, the aesthetics. How does Fathom 5 compare to the criteria noted? Should improvements be made? How do we ensure that the marine park is adequately resourced and funded? And this year's forum is designed to openly consider whether the management of Fathom 5 needs improvement, No comment on the existing management and how that may take place. And we're asking you guys to think about that and give us some input. Our speakers today will add information that will help us think about these questions. Firstly, Stan McClellan, who was the first park superintendent and only for Fathom 5 Provincial Park, will take us on a nostalgic, that's his words, I don't know what that's going to be, journey to the early days. A bit of a change in your schedule. He will be followed by Damon Panic, park ranger at the Apostle Islands National Lake Shore on Lake Superior, and he will share management secrets using TEK, Traditional Ecological Knowledge. Damon is then followed by Ellen Brody, the Great Lakes Regional Coordinator for U.S. Marine Sanctuaries, and will describe marine park expansion pains and gains using the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary, which is located right across Lake Huron from us. And it's bigger and it's better funded. You can ask her. Ellen wasn't able to attend today, and we'll give her presentation live via Zoom video. Our own Dr. Scott Parker, former Fathom 5 ecologist, I think he's still in college though, will then draw from his monitoring program and from William Shakespeare to update us on the state of the Fathom 5 ecosystem. Dr. Daryl Hondorp, and I'll point out Daryl with 2 R's, that's the old-fashioned way of spelling it, with the USGS, United States Geological Survey Great Lakes Science Center, will explain fish movement in Lake Huron, including in and out of Fathom 5. And to close out today's sessions, least but not last, the Bagita-Wad Alliance of the Chippewas of Nawash will share their experiences pertaining to the First Nation commercial fishery in Georgian Bay. Most exciting part of the forum for me and Brian and others is having the opportunity to apply our individual knowledge here amongst you and learnings as of today to tomorrow's workshop on the Fathom 5 National Marine Park Management Plan, the key document on how the park will improve and exist over the next 10 to 15 years. That's it. You can clap now.